Good morning. We are live with another episode of Unpublic with Citizen Stewart. This morning, my guest is a student from Atlanta, well, a little bit outside of Atlanta, from Georgia, who's going to talk to us today a little bit about student activism and how students can lead in student leadership. My guest is Aisha Dukuly. She is someone who has done work with the EdLanta Student Coalition. If you haven't heard of them, you should Google them and look them up. You'll find their link tree and you'll see videos and things that they have done thus far. This is a part of the conversation we have to stop forgetting about. Young people have plenty to tell us about what we should be doing with schools and with public education. Aisha, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so excited to talk to you because I want to hear more of a real perspective on what's going on in school today. And I, only get to hear through other people what's going on in schools. And I remember what my perspective of was years ago when I was a student. It was that I had a ground level view. I knew things my parents didn't know. I knew things that adults didn't know, and kids. Young people in my life at that time, we had our own secret society of stuff that would happen during the day. But what we didn't have any, what I think to be real leaders like you, real leadership that was happening. So just to start, tell me a little bit about what has drawn you into wanting to be a student leader and to lead on some of the issues around education.
So I think I'm really passionate about education. Something that it's always been stressed at a young age that's important because it can determine your future. It's a way out of poverty. It's a key to success, and you can bring other people up with you once you make it. But really, I got interested in social justice around 7th grade when I was 13. My cousin was always in and out of trouble with the police, and they would come to our house and they would harass us, and they would come with me at odd times in the night without warrants, but they would force their way in. Until eventually they raided my house, and it was just very traumatizing. And then before then, I didn't see racism in all its layers. I thought that racism had to be physical. I didn't know that it was institutional and systemic. And then after that experience, that kind of opened your eyes. It was eye-opening for me. I started to see it in my school system. I was talking about it to my friends. I was complaining about it when I come home from school to my mom and my grandma. But I could never really do anything about it. People just go over their head until recently, last year, I was connected with Jason Gallen, and he gave me a platform to uplift my voice and the voices of other Black and Brown students.
So what were the type of things that you were seeing that made you sense that it wasn't just outside of your school that there was racism, but there was institutional racism even within the school system? What were you seeing that made you think that this isn't just in one place, this is kind of everywhere I go?
Well, the way that teachers interact with students, right? So at my school, I went to, from middle school, high school, I went to, in elementary school, I went to majority high schools, and they lack resources. For example, I had a teacher in 7th grade who, there were a lot of Black kids in the classroom. There's some white kids, and the whole class would be talking and giggling and whatever, and be loud, but she would always pick on the Black kids, even if they weren't talking, just because she had their names and in her head. And then, then it happened to me. I was like, at first I didn't see, but then it happened to me. I'm like, you picked on me? And I'm like, I'm really good in your class, and resources, right? So at my high school, my experience, there's not a chair, a desk, a book that's not mutilated. There's a lot of problems with the infrastructure of my high school, but yet the football field has at least got a new turf. They're building a new fine arts building outside, but the main building that all the students are going to use is not in good condition. But if you go down the road to one of the more affluent majority white schools, everything's so pristine, everything's new, everything's brand new, everything's nice. And so that's really what triggered me to see that this is happening.
So what's really interesting about what you told me right before we got on today is that you were someone who was able to see what was going on in the better resource school district. It wasn't like it was a secret to you, because you actually got to see it with your own eyes that they were better off in terms of resources than your schools. Do you think your peers also got the ability to be able to see what other kids were getting in school districts that were better resourced?
Some of them, not all of them. Some of them don't. When something is all you don't think that there's anything else out there that's better unless you're able to see that. And so a lot of them don't know. They think that this is just it. That's all that's going to be, and they can't do anything about it. But some of them have, and but they just need a way to uplift their voice and get the message out and let people know this is what's going on. We need to fix this.
Mm. What would you say to somebody who is interested in being more of a leader, or they are fed up with the way that their schools are not treating them the best, but they're shy, or they feel like, it's not my place really, or they just don't have the courage to jump out there and be leading on things because that's just not what they do? How would you help them see that they can have power too?
Well, your voice is powerful, right? We hear about adults, hear from adults all the time, and sometimes it goes into one ear and out the other. When you hear from students, young people out here talking about problems that affect them, that's powerful because they're as much as adults as are out here leading conversations. A lot of people aren't. They don't care. So for students, young people to be involved, that's powerful. But like everybody has a different place in this movement. If you're not comfortable being in the front, your social media, if you're good with technology, you can make the flyers, get the message out, do posts every day, and things like that. It's really important that you make your voices heard because that's when people pay attention. When students get upset and students start to make good trouble, that's when people.
Yeah, what I think is so important about what you just said too is not everybody has to jump out there and be the face of the thing. Like there's other stuff you could do to participate and to be helpful. I hope someone is allowing students to know that maybe you're artistic, maybe you're good with like writing things, or you can even just be the person who stands behind the speaker and helps them out. I love that idea. Help me understand what the issues are today in high school, because I've visited lots of schools in my time, like in over the years. I have 3 young people in school right now from my household, so I'm getting to see it through them a little bit. But I get to hear at dinner time, a little bit of the things that they have going on, and some of the stuff is eternal because they're middle school age. So if you would have went back at my time, I would have complained about the food. I'd have complained that the classes were boring, that they weren't involving me, that they weren't relevant, that I had some teachers that felt like they were really excited about it, and then some teachers that didn't seem like they were excited about us at all. Have the issues changed, or are there new issues that you all are seeing and working on nowadays?
The issues haven't changed. Everything that you just said is still going on, and then some. So, like everything you just said, we have teachers who are just there that they want to get a paycheck and they want to have their summer vacations off. They couldn't care less about what's going on with the students there. They just want to get in and get out, and that's all they're there for. And then there are teachers like one of my teachers, Ms. Montgomery, who she does care about the students, and she got me involved in this, and she helped me uplift my voice, and she cares about issues. But like some things that we face now are SROs. SROs in the school that I go to, with my experience with SROs, is they're very militant. They stand in the hallway and with their hands on their waist, on their weapons, and they just watch everything you do like you're doing something wrong. Like some of us, you're even afraid to look at them too long before they come to you and start asking questions, and maybe you get in trouble. Or if you're walking in the hallway with a group of friends, I've seen this before, a bunch of Black boys in the hallway walking through the cafeteria, they're laughing, having a good time, just being kids, but to the SRO, it's like they're causing trouble, and the SRO goes to break them up. When they talk to you, they can't talk to you. They don't talk to you like you're a kid. They have to be aggressive and put their hand on one of their weapons, and they're talking to you like that, and that's not okay. But then also workforce development. I wrote an article about this. The message that they send Black and brown students is that to get out of poverty, all you have to do is be in the NFL, an NBA, be a model, something in entertainment. And you just have to work hard enough to do this. But these are adults pushing this message, and they know that that's literally like a 1 in a million chance. All of us are not going to be able to do that. And that's not the best way out of poverty. Like if you do that, cool, but there's other ways to make money, like being a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, going to trade school, stuff that's going to make money for our communities, not for the white executive or the white team owner that doesn't really care about you.
You just said 2 things that I think we should pick up on and keep going on. But the first one I think is the more troubling one, this idea around the SROs. Now, there weren't SROs in schools when I was in school. And I can't imagine the idea that you would have police officers in the schools who aren't trained to be student friendly, to be like part of the school community. What you just described sounds like straight up just police officers, not like student centered or student focused police officers. Is there anybody in between them when they interact with you, or is it they're just there in the hallways and you have to look out for them as if they're just like regular police officers on the street?
So there's administration there, and the administration is like, say if a fight breaks out, usually you'll see that if an SRO is not around, like the teachers and stuff will break it up, but sometimes the SRO goes to break the fight up or whatever. And they just walk around, like they're walking around in the backyard, like they just stroll around the school. Sometimes during lunch, they'll stand at a post and look out for anything, but it's just very militant. It doesn't feel friendly. It feels very intimidating. You feel scared to watch out.
So let's say you commit some sort of infraction. What do they do? If you commit, do you get tickets, or do you get removed from the school, or do they literally arrest students?
That is the administration. So it depends on the severity, right? So talking to people, the things that I heard that SROs are in school for is for physical violence, sexual abuse, and like in case we have like a school shooter or anything like that. But I've seen like but there's been times that kids get arrested in the cafeteria and the SRO takes them out.
And I imagine that's for fighting or,
sometimes, or in drugs too. I don't know what it's for, but I feel like it's unnecessary.
All right. Well, good. So what are y'all going to do about it? I want to come back to your second issue in a minute, but let's just say you've just stumbled on a really important issue, which is this thing of SROs. I don't think that adults, parents, people who aren't in schools right now understand what the relationship and the situation is with SROs in schools. We kind of, I think, know that they exist in some of the schools. I think many of us would assume that they're kind of therapeutic. They're student focused. They're kind to, as long as there's not a problem, they're interacting well with you. And it doesn't sound like that from what you're seeing at all. So then what do you all as students do about it to have a voice in saying how they exist in your schools?
Well, we have Gwinnett County, the school county that I go to, they have a board meeting coming up, and myself and a couple of other students are going to be speaking to that, why we want to defund SROs. Because a lot of times when kids get in trouble, and they act out in schools because they have a lot going on at home. They have unstable, harsh home life, and that there can't be kids at home. That can be adults. So schools are the only place their outlet. That's when they act up, and it's not really they're acting up. It's an SOS for help. They need help, and so if we stop spending so much money on SROs, and we reallocate funds to mental health, social emotional learning, so that students can identify their feelings and know that I'm feeling this type of way. What can I do about it in a constructive way, and be empathetic to others. But also counseling services, mental health services, therapy, social work, so that if the student's in a bad home environment, we can move them out of that and put it in a more positive environment. So that's what we're doing now.
There's a question here from Sherry Lucas Hall. She's just curious, wants to know if any of the SROs look like the majority of the student body.
Not in my school, maybe at other schools. It's different from a school to school basis. I don't say like all SROs, act like this, but at my school, which is a majority minority school, this has been my experience and the experience of other students. At majority white schools, it might be different because they see those students different. They don't see them as threats. So, yeah.
So just to be clear, your SROs in your school is a majority of non-white students, but the SROs are white SROs.
Yes, that's correct.
This isn't working for me. Like this sounds, I'm glad that you all are organizing. Definitely glad, as a former school board member, I'm glad that you're going to the school board to be heard directly. I can remember being on the school board. You have to take things that students say very seriously. When they come to speak and they're prepared, they honestly own an issue in a way that no one else would. So we would have to be very, ears open, eyes attentive, because for one thing, you don't want to be embarrassed. Leadership of any school district doesn't want to be embarrassed. It's very embarrassing for students to come and say things about the conditions of the schools that they're in and that they're not the best. Let's move on to the second thing that you were talking about. So you were also talking about the need to focus on more than just entertainment as the possibility of things that young people can do. And we need to stop specifically with schools that are full of Black kids or children of color to stop railroading them towards things that are all entertainment based and show them broader options. What would really be the problem right now in your school that you see in that area? Is it just that there's not enough, I don't know what it would be, like guidance counselors? Are there just not enough talk about other fields that you could go into? You wrote about this in your piece on workforce development. What was the main idea?
So there's not, first of all, they focus too much on the fine art side, but there aren't enough role models. So fortunately, I had a role model. I got to shadow with the certified athletic trainer at my school. But a lot of kids, like, we have different academies. Like, we have a STEAM, like double M, so that's like STEM and medical. We have law, and we have like criminal justice, law enforcement. But they don't have like examples like in the school that can mentor them and say, hey, these are the career options within this field. Let you shadow me. Connect you to opportunities so that you can see, is this something that you really want to do? Connect you to people that look like you, so you can see yourself in them and realize that, hey, this is possible. Like Machina Watkins did for me. They don't like facilities, right? There's a school in my county and it has like its own pharmacy, and it's like set up like it's a medical academy school. We don't have those type of facilities for students at my school. They're not quality administration, quality counselors that actually care, or we don't have. And representation matters, but beyond representation, you need to have great energy. You need to be socially aware. I need to know that you care about me, that you understand what I'm going through. Like when I hear teachers say, "Oh, I don't see color," well, that means you don't see me. You don't see my struggles. And how can you, if you don't see color, how can you really want the best for me, or things like that? So,
is that what you have teachers say to you? Is like, I don't see color?
I've heard that before.
And your response seems to be the right one, which is, if you don't see color, you don't see me. How can someone like that relate to you if they're literally telling you that they don't see something that's so important about your life?
They're not relating to you, they tolerate you. It's something that you see a lot of tokenism in my county. They'll take the Black kid that is the valedictorian or the AP scholar that's been doing really well, and so, well, if he or she's doing it, why can't all of you, the rest of you, do it? And it's more complex than that. And they need to stop doing that. Or like our leadership in the school is the same type A people. It's the kids that take AP classes and are at the top of the class. Just because somebody's not taking an AP class or is not at the top of the class doesn't mean they're not a leader. They're probably more in touch with what's going on the ground than the students at the top. Have them be in these leadership positions to actually create change, not the students that are going to make you look good.
Do you feel like that's been you? Like you've been that student where they hold you up and say, try and make you somewhat of a model minority, like make you the model for other people?
In a sense, yes.
Yeah, that's sad. If I were an adult and I were one of the teachers and I was wanting to do better, and I heard you saying this, what would you say to the teachers who do want to be more supportive or relate better to their students? What cues would you give them? Like, what advice would you give them to do better in connecting with their students?
Just take some time out of class to ask them how their day was, what's going on, just for them to vent, and then you'll start to see like what's really happening, and then like maybe you can center your class, your lesson around that, and let them have their input. Do you guys like this? Do you want to do something else? Have them be a part of it instead of you just talk to them, not at them. Like involve them with it, make them engage.
I mean, that seems like just good advice for life in general. Like that's just, how you talk to people in general. I wonder if there are teachers too, keeping on this subject a little bit, who really in their heart of hearts believe, like, I love my students, whose students would not be seeing that or feeling it for some reason or other. Like they would be feeling like they're misunderstood. Do you think that some of them might just be afraid of students, or the way that they interact might just be a little bit awkward, but they really do, in their heart of hearts, do care about how well their students are doing?
Yeah. Yeah. For example, I have this math teacher. He's an old white guy, and he always gives us ample. I feel like he knows like we're going through a pandemic, so he gives us ample times to make up assignments, and he has tutoring sessions every day after school and things like that. But if you talk to him, like, you're not going to get a lot out of him. Like, he's very awkward, and his lessons are very boring. But in certain ways, he shows you that he cares. And so yeah, there are definitely teachers that that do care, but maybe they just don't know how to show it. Like, because the lives are very drastically different from the students' lives, and the mannerisms, the way the students, interact with each other, things like that. They might find it hard, but yeah, there are some teachers like that. They just need to find their voice and find a way to make it work.
Yeah, I can imagine how terrifying it would be to go and teach a class today in today's America. If you feel like you've been out of it for a long period of time and you're not socially listen, I'm just going to be straight with you. Y'all talk about some things and as young people that goes over our heads, a lot of us, right? So if we were trying to relate on a basis of knowing you, I think there'd be a lot of work to be done to actually really do know you. Like we could fake it if we wanted to, but the truth of the matter is, I think a lot of teachers are probably out of their depth in understanding what's really going down with students. Sticking with this workforce thing a little bit more, you mentioned it sounded like mentorship opportunities just to see other things that people do, like, to be approximate to work that other people are doing in fields other than entertainment, maybe medical, maybe science-based things, maybe things having to do with aerospace. Who knows? Like, we have young people who could be involved in a lot of things if they just saw it, if they knew that it was a possibility. Someone in the comments earlier asked a question around how involved is the surrounding community in your schools? Do you have like great community support for your schools and for students?
So like in terms of like workforce development, not really, kind of, but not really. Like when it's the football team, like they have their own community that helps with that. There's like certain businesses around town that, like Peach State Federal Credit Union, we have one in our school, things like that. But it needs some work. It could be better. So,
you have a credit union in your school? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope. Do you feel like your school is preparing you for college and preparing students for college and keeping them thinking about what happens after high school? That's more than just maybe the military or community college, but really shooting high and having young people think about college?
No, they don't prepare us for college. If they really want us to do well, we would start SAT, ACT practice in like 8th grade, 9th grade. We start, they just say, go to college, go to GSU, go to Kennesaw State because it's here. But you don't teach us that, hey, you might not like it there. You need to understand what your fit factors are. What type do you want to go to school in? The city, the suburbs, rural? Do you want to go to a party school? Do you want to go to a school that they don't so much care about sports, they care more about academics, liberal arts, university? They don't teach you all these, what's going to be financially like suitable for you. They don't teach you all these things. I learned it over the summer in a program called Leadership Enterprise for First America. But that they're telling you to go to college, but they don't tell you how you need to get there, what you need to look for. They don't walk you through the process of it, and like financial aid, FAFSA, like they don't. There needs to be more help with that and stuff like that, and funding scholarships and things like that. So they may say it, like they just check off boxes really, but they don't really do the work.
Wow. You mentioned that you think that that they should start earlier with SAT prep. Why do you think you should start as early as like 8th grade? That would be very early. What do you think would be useful about that?
Because you can take the test more. There are white kids out there who their parents, they start early and they have private tutors that come to their house every day, right? I mean, even seen scandals where celebrity children had somebody else take the test for them, have got paid their way into school. And so when you're competing against that, and so you're trying to go to the Ivy League or you're trying to go to Emory, you need to start early because there are kids that are already 10 steps ahead of you.
Yeah, when you say that you don't think that young people are being prepared for college, that's really depressing, because I think that should be like one of the primary things that you're being prepared for. Even if you don't want to go, you should be able to say, well, I just don't want to go. It's not because I can't get in or something. You should at least have the option of saying, how much of this too, and I don't live in your area, but I know a little bit, when you think about the entertainment focus, I wonder how much of that is because there's so much of that industry in Atlanta. Atlanta's like a hub for entertainment, and there's a lot of work there. There's a lot of jobs there. You have the Tyler Perry studios, you have the, movie making facilities, and a music and entertainment industry there that is like world class. Do you think maybe that's the reason that people push it, is because there's actual work for that there locally?
Yes, that's their excuse, but it's a poor excuse, because with that becomes construction. Why not tell me that I can be going to construction? There's caterers for that. Tell me that I can be caterers. There's med people that need to be, when they have those, there's medical people that need to be on staff in case anything happens. So yeah, that's their excuse, and that's a reason why, but it's a poor excuse. There's many other jobs surrounding that they can push, and other areas that kids can work in.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got me there. I mean, they could be preparing you to own businesses too, right? Like entrepreneurialism could be a thing that they prepare you for if you're going to have all that industry there. When you think about all of this, what if someone tried to recruit you to become a teacher? Someone said to you, maybe you should teach because it sounds like you have a lot of teaching to do, like you have that in you or whatnot. What would you say to that?
Somebody's asked me this before. I have a passion for this type of stuff, but teaching is not something that I'm interested in. I feel like you don't have to be in the classroom to be a teacher. I could be a mentor. I think really I'd be a good mentor, not a good teacher. That's not, when you don't like something, you're not gonna be passionate about it. I don't think I want to be a teacher. I'm really more interested in medicine, but I'd be a great mentor. I think that's, yeah.
I love how you're smiling about it too. Yep, nope, I'm not gonna teach. Well, tell me more about this though. So what would somebody need to say to you to make it attractive for you to become a teacher?
That I'm not going to be silenced. I'm going to be able to afford to live and things like that. And I'm going to have time. People forget that like teachers are teachers inside the classroom, but outside the classroom. Like teachers have a lot of work in and out of the classroom, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be prioritized. There should be a work-life balance. And when I know that can happen, that can change. Maybe that'd be more attractive. Being a teacher would be more attractive to me.
So you would need more money. And you would need the ability to know that you were going to have enough time and freedom to do what you needed to do. It's interesting that before you have even left high school, that you could see that those are critical issues with the teaching profession. Because right now, a lot of people are sitting around thinking about how we make this more attractive for young people, especially young people of color, to want to come back and teach. So you just gave us your 1-2 punch. You need more money in the job, and you need more flexibility and power in what you do. Now, if you had those two things, you would consider teaching? All right. Well, we're just going to need for people to step up. Anybody listening or watching, we're going to need somebody to step up and make a dent in how we do better about making the job attractive for young people. Because honestly, what you just said, it's amazing how many people say what you just said. While they're still in school, they're like, I would never want to do this. I would never want to be a teacher. I think that's it's important. It's sad in one way. So we have another question here that's around like vocational education. So the question is, do they ever support or encourage trade schools like mechanics, HVAC training, more of the vocational stuff? Is that part of your career track in your schools?
So we have 2 schools in Gwinnett County that focus on vocational education. We have Maxwell, we have the Grayson High School, but that's like in a majority white area. And most of the kids that are in my area, they don't know that they can do this until like junior year, or unless they are already interested in vocational school. They don't know that's an option unless they're already interested in doing hair or cars or whatever. And so I feel like it's there, the systems they're in place, but just they need to make kids know that that's an option, that that's okay. You're not a failure if you go to vocational school, that college shouldn't be the thing that everybody shoots for, because it's not for everybody.
Do you think that there's still that stigma with young people that if you go into something like HVAC or you go into the vocational schools, that's somehow failing?
Yes, definitely. And we create like labels like gifted and all these things, even within amongst those top students, there's heavy competition. Like it's intense, like it's toxic, and there creates this hierarchy among students, and it shouldn't be like that. A win for one of us is what should be a win for all of us. And so definitely there's that stigma there.
When you say there's competition, like in gifted and those type of things, what do you mean? Like, what does that look like, competition?
So I'll tell you a story. So one time I was in class and we took a test and everybody was stressed about the test and this girl came up to me, what was your grade? What'd you get? Because she wanted to compare grades. They value themselves on their grades. I'm like, it doesn't matter what my grade was. You're not my competition. I'm my own competition. Worry about yourself. And so it's just things like that. And if you don't get a certain grades, then you can't be a part of this certain percentages like that. That's unspoken rule, and they treat you different if you have like these different ideas and things like that. So there's definitely like competition. So there's like own social hierarchy amongst students.
Wow. I wonder how we do what you're doing on a bigger scale, which is show people that these things are systemic. What you just mentioned about like where they place the vocational programs, where they place the medical program, the difference between your school now and the schools that you saw before that were majority white in a pretty close, they're not far from each other, they're in a pretty close area or whatnot. If you are going to school every day and all you're seeing is what's in your school, you may not be seeing that the bigger world is not, is rigged in some ways against you. Are you seeing any breakthroughs with your peers as you all start working about it or talking about it, that the light bulb goes on and they think, oh, wow, this is a structure here. This is structural.
I think definitely like last year or like a couple years ago when the students were protesting, they were in Times Magazine, but now, leading up to now, especially now that my peers, my friends see me doing it and seeing me bring attention to this, like, yeah, it's actually happening. Like this is eye-opening. It's turning light bulbs on people's heads.
Are there people in your family who are watching you do this work and get involved with this work and are very supportive of you doing this?
Yeah, my family is very supportive, very proud of me, wants me to keep doing it.
No, well, that's good. I mean, for a lot of families, you know, what some students might hear is don't start any trouble or just keep your head down, you know, not go and do that.
No, but as much as they're supportive, my grandmother is very cautious. She always tell me, "Be cautious. Don't say this. Don't say that. You know, don't put it."
Yeah, well, I think I would be a little bit in the camp of being very proud of my kids if they were doing work that I think made it life better for everybody else. And at the same time, I'd be worried about any type of reprisal that they might get, if they might get some sort of retaliation at school because now you're that person. You're almost done though. So it doesn't, in some ways, you can be more of a leader because you're on your way out. So maybe it is a good part of being a senior, your senior year, which is getting involved in activism, making it better for the people coming up behind you. What are you seeing as your forecast? We just asked about whether or not you would want to be a teacher, but what are you seeing, you know, is in line for you after school, after you graduate?
I do want to go to college. I want to get a bachelor's degree. I actually want to double major, maybe in like sociology or in business. And then I want to go to med school. I want to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Oh, wow. So you just want to take all the money. Okay, good. Wow, that is so impressive. I'm so excited about seeing more work like yours, seeing more people like you step to the front. And give other young people permission or the model of you don't need a title. You don't have to have some sort of special training to be an activist, to be somebody who steps out and says the right thing on behalf of everybody. You don't need any special anything. You don't have to wait for permission to make that happen. And seeing you do it, I think is just, it gives me hope that that the right thing is going to happen for a lot of young people. I appreciate you coming on today. Is there anything you would say as in terms of like final words of advice to students who want to be more active and want to get more involved, but for one reason or another haven't had the opportunity yet, and for educators to be able to support young people who want to have more of a voice?
Yeah. So if you're passionate about it, go for it. Everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. If you're passionate about prison reform, then do prison reform. If you're passionate about education, then do education. You don't have to be in front. You can be in the back. But just make sure for teachers, find out what students need. Miss Lucas Hall that commented, she reached out to me and said, what do you need? How can I help you? I'm willing to help in any way. Stand behind your students and support them in any way that you can, and help uplift their voices.
Well, I thank you so much. As you all heard in the comments, reach out. And if you want to get more information about the work that Aisha is doing through the EdLanta Student Coalition, let me know. You can shoot me an email and I can make sure that it connects you with them. If you're a young person who's watching this and also wants to be connected and maybe even duplicate this effort where you are, we would love to make that happen, because we think that student power really is the power in education. There should be no power greater than the actual people who are supposed to be benefiting from the schools. And right now, as it stands, there are issues that were raised in this show today, like SROs in schools. Not setting young people up for college, not setting them up for things like the SAT, the gates that get you into college, having too limited of a view of the type of occupations and possibilities that we show them, and also not engaging them in the idea that the system is rigged in many ways. What you get in one school, you don't get in another school. The resources are different. And if the resources are different, of course, the outcomes are going to be different. You can't like overstuff one school with opportunity and privilege and then understuff another school without the privilege and the resources and expect there to be some sort of equal outcome in the world after that happens. And listen, if adults aren't willing to stand up and say it, if adults who work in the buildings and who don't aren't willing to stand up and say it, then I damn well hope that that young people are the ones who stand up and say it and that they're heard. Aisha, I also want to say to you, when you go to the school board, man, make yourself heard. Make them hear you. Don't let them say anything other than, what can we do? You know, we're very interested. So good luck with your upcoming direct action on the school board.
Thank you.
All right. And this has been an hour of the Unpublic with Citizen Stewart. Our guest today has been Aisha Dukuly. She is a student leader in Georgia, and her work is going to be seen and heard, I'm sure, far beyond that. And we will be looking forward to seeing you as a doctor one day. So thank you so much for sharing your story. For those of you who want to know more about this show, or if you have show ideas, or if you want to connect with me, you can either connect with me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm at Citizen Stewart, or you can email me citizen@hey.com, and that's HEY.com. And I'm interested in your show ideas or any ideas that you have for guests.